We are travelling alone, yet not incognito. I am bemused, but that is a usual state of affairs for me. My master will explain if it is required. I have no doubt that when all of this, whatever this is, concludes, I will gain a rundown of actions taken and the motivations, if it is not abundantly clear by that time, of course. We travelled by a standard liner, and quite a lot more opulence than I am accustomed to, if truth be told. Dinners with the captain, tours by the XO. Baffling. We usually move so quietly, use our own vessel. My master must want us to be known, it seems. Upon reaching our destination, we took a small transport down to the planet with a dozen or so other wayfarers, into a calm and cool, but intensely sterile environment. As we stand in line to be processed, our travel permits perused and cleared, I attempt to gain my bearings. Smell. People always forget that one of our most powerful senses is smell. Every planet has a distinct smell. The makeup of its air, the ages of the world, how industrialized it was, etc. But each smells differently. I cannot smell anything but the metal around us. For a moment, it is disconcerting. But I'm busy in other ways. Watching, weighing, identifying, as I have been taught to do by my master. He wears a calm air, but I can see the tension in his stance. He is wary, on edge. With none behind us, we stand separated from the queue, and we talk banalities until the people in front of us are inured to any consideration of listening in. You're tense, my master. We are vulnerable at the moment. By design? He smiles at me, and I see the twinkle in his eye that means I am not disappointing him today. I spot the guards at the entry point to the world outside, as people muster there. The doors are not opened too often, it would seem. Certainly not more than is required. There were 3 guards, now there are only 2. Our advent has been noted, it seems. You will precede me and act as a beater. Do not slack off, or we will be overrun. But, I know. Keep my wits about me. Lay on then, Tarquinus. The doors slowly grind open, and we are assailed by the first kiss of the light from the powerful yellow sun over this world. And I immediately know why the door is usually closed, and there are sprays of some form of perfume aimed inside the port, as we are assailed by the spectacle of the bizarre bazaars of Bilius Brabataran. Try saying that after a bottle of Amasec. The light, sound, heat and smells are overwhelming, but in the most glorious of ways. We head out into the crowded market, my cane now being used as a club to knock people on shoulders and shins, to get them to back away to allow us to pass. After the initial surge of beggars and thieves have tasted the speed and strength of my rebuffs, they make a cordon around us, just out of my range. We process through the market, my eyes everywhere at the same time. Above us are only 2-story white buildings, glaring in the light, perfect for an assassin. I am aware. We pass grills over an ancient sewer system, perfect for an assault or explosion. I am aware. Surrounded by bodies, my cane slams out regularly, but I am always watching every angle around us, looking for eyes too certain, the stare that will not be broken, following us out of a purer motive than just the contents of our credit bags. The sigils we wear, the badge of the Inquisitor so usually hidden, give some pause. I know I am having to work less hard due to its implicit threat, but my master is very tense indeed. He exudes an air of haughty superiority, but I can see his stance again. He is searching for something. We pass stands and stores with every form of object, every kind of taste and smell, but still, he searches. A good part of the morning has gone when I see him take pause. We stand before some beggars, all swathed in those threadbare grey robes, bowl in hand, stretched upwards in supplication. My master stops, and I thrash around us to keep back the crowds. He makes his way to the beggars, heading to the front of their line. He places a very nice credit donation to one after another, and speaks to them swiftly but smoothly. When he gets to the last, he is closer to me, and I hear what is exchanged, all previous donations being a screen to this one event. "Alms for the righteous? Are you righteous?" "I am not, but I wish to know if I can be of service to thee this day." "Then you must repent, and yes, I have need of your services this day. If you do this, all debts will be paid." "All?" "Indeed, all." "Then find me in your shadow this day." My master stands erect again, but his stance has shifted. He stands more tall, less hunched, less cautious. He stands confidently, more so than at any time since we left his retinue for a brief respite. The hands on the beggar, just as he pulls the bowl to his stomach and encloses his entire form around it to defend it. They were too slender, too long. My master stands before me and calmly says, "Let us see how much influence is being exerted here, shall we, boy?" He makes his way to an inn of sorts, but when we approach the sign is turned from inside. It stands from vacancies to no rooms. We turn and see this happen thrice more over the next hour. The last one to do so has to come outside to winch his sign from open to closed. It is in this instant I catch him, and, with no small amount of intimidating body language, I bellow at him. "My master requires lodgings. You will remove a guest so he may recline." The wide-eyed terror of the short, portly man is almost comedic. He jumps, then bends into the lowest bower I have ever seen. One so low it seems to defy gravity itself as he speaks to my boots. "Alas, it is not space, but illness that causes me to temporarily close my fine establishment. Might I suggest the Imperium's finest? It is on the hill, and commands a view of breathtaking beauty. It is the only place worthy of a man so important as your master." "Well, that speaks volumes. It is as I suspected. Finally, time for the end of our dance. Let us head towards the Imperium's finest then, shall we?" For a moment, my master's eyes glaze as he speaks that last sentence, reminiscing. But in another instant it is gone and we move. We make our way to the centre of this bazaar, to its largest building, the largest luxury lodgings. As we get nearer, fewer and fewer beggars and pickpockets attempt to assail us. By the last few roads, we have passed guard stations that have held all of the rest of them back. It is much quieter here, but the intense smells are still present. The lack of crowds after most of the day amongst them is both relieving and also sets me on edge. Very few are permitted this high. Our badges of office and clear affluence mark us out as being amongst those very few. The Imperium's finest is not easy to miss. Standing on the very top of this hill as it does, one can see the entire valley and city from the stairs at the base of its entrance. Marble stairs, despite being windswept and having heat trails coming off their dazzling brilliance. We climb them and pass another thick door made of a transparent material, and are doused with perfume as we enter a cool, huge, pristine lobby. We go through the motions of checking in, and all the while being watched by almost everyone there. The bellhop, the receptionist, the multiple guards on the insides of the doors, all are trying their best not to stare at us, but failing miserably. Well, we are certainly in the lion's den now. We recline at our leisure at the refreshment area, slowly supping drinks for another hour, when we are finally approached by the maitre d'. He eloquently invites us to a luncheon with the owner. My master accepts and stands. I follow suit. Through the huge dwelling we are led, each room larger than the last, until we finally enter before doors that can only be described as palatial, regal. They are opened by the attendants within, and we process inside. As we do so, the doors are closed behind us. I snap a look at my master as I see what is awaiting us, but only visible when we enter the blatant trap. On either side of the room are two huge Ogryn. Two more behind us at the threshold of the room. A massive ornate desk sits in front of us. A chair behind it, intimidatingly large and eye-wateringly complex in its carving. And I mean eye-watering. So detailed, it actually hurts the senses to try to take it all in one go. All along either end, behind the Ogryn, stand around a score of ruffians and ne'er-do-wells, all in different fatigues, different weaponry, but mostly, like the Ogryns, they are melee weapons. A huge axe here, a chainsword there, possibly even a power sword from the hilt. Deserters. From many a company and outfit, but deserters. Trained killers. The staircase behind the throne has a doorway at its top, and it is slowly, dramatically opened. From this portal comes a huge man, well over 8 feet tall, unarmed, but his muscles seem to be flexing and unflexing and straining his clothes at all points. Tick perhaps? Nerves or excitement? Either way, he is one of the most imposing figures I have ever witnessed. He walks down the stairs slowly and regally, taking his time, but never once breaking his stare at my master. His face, now that he is closer, is a collage of 1,000 scars and tattoos. His eyes, dauntless and calm, but with a tint of red. Or is it purple, in what is supposed to be whites? Dressed in robes of exquisite finery, he still seems like a warrior born, a killing machine. He finally stops at the side of his throne, glaring all of the time at my master as he has been. He finally, languidly, and ostentatiously looks at me, then back to my master. So, Thaddeus, our final act, and this is how it ends? No Terin, no Falcus, not even Barbon? I'm insulted. All you bring is a boy? Well, I wasn't sure, you see. And Tarquinius here is the most talented young man I have ever had the honor of knowing. He is twice the man you will ever be. I had hoped for a climactic end to our saga, my old foil. Yes, this is a disappointment. You come to my hall, my home, unprepared and practically unarmed, when I am more powerful than I have ever been. Now, you come not as an avenging angel, but as a beggar looking for a room. Have you fallen so far? Well, you're a funny one to use that particular phrase, Sergeant. I see you now house one of the Neverborn in your very body. How's it feel to share? Was it everything you have wished for? Was it worth turning your back on righteousness? Righteous? You dare say that to me? I've had enough. Our tale ends now. Here, with your head on my desk. Oh, I'm not alone. Nor am I unarmed. A figure steps from the dark, in one of the corners of the room. A simple being, hunched in seeming decrepitude. It is wearing a threadbare grey robe, its face covered, but its long limbs now on show. You bring one Eldar to this battle. One! You've lost your senses, Thaddeus. I know. I thought it was overkill as well, but he insisted. Old debts of honor, etc. The being shook his head and merely extended his hand at the newcomer and rolled 2 words only. Kill it. Immediately everything exploded into action. The room was instantly filled with an echoing roar as the 2 Ogryn at the door powered toward the lone Eldar, now advancing into the center of the room near to us. The renegades and further 2 Ogryns at the side of the room moved more casually as they stalked forward, completing a fencing with both us and the Eldar at its center. The 2 Ogryns slow slightly as they get closer in an attempt not to collide, but they are well trained for their kind. One swings high, one swings low at the Eldar. I cannot quite make out what happened, as it moves faster than I can even process. The robe twirls in the air, and the Ogrins both stop stock still, their angry faces now in a dumbstruck rictus. The Eldar takes to the air and in one fluid motion he kicks both of them. The severed heads fly towards the desk and one lands on either side, both gawping at the Lord at its centre, still standing beside his chair. The rest of the Ogrins fall into a dozen pieces each, blood finally flowing from what are now piles of bits on the floor. When the Eldar lands, it is finally possible to make him out correctly. He stands tall and proud, and he has two sleek blades in his hands, his body covered from tips of toes to head in a strange motley, a checkered patchwork of various bright and brilliant colours. Everyone stops for a mere second, as a sound begins to emanate from behind that mask that has two large horns jutting out of it, unlike any Eldar I have ever seen before. The moment ends as the being becomes a ball of light and pixelated colours as it moves like lightning across the floor, bounding and leaping towards one of the clumps of renegades. What I see is difficult to describe, so bear with me. It was like a ball of colour that coalesced at rare points, but more for show than anything else. As it danced its way around the men, blades and hammers, lasguns and even power swords went skidding across the floor or flew in the air as each one was disarmed and then torn to pieces. Blades moving impossibly fast and seemingly cutting through anything as if it were not there. The dance went on for less than 20 seconds. In the wake of this ball of light and wrath was a mounting line of dead. Nothing stopping it or even slowing it. Finally, when the full circuit of the room had been performed, the dust settled and the ball of colour and light stopped. All were dead bar me, my master, and the thing at the centre, now slowly walking backwards up the stairs, eyes wide in what could only be called horror. And they shall know no fear, unless, of course, they fall from the Emperor's light. My master now turns fully and looks at the Harlequin, now slowly padding towards us. I only need him alive. Smaller would be better for transporting. The Eldar nods once, and then somersaults into the air, coming down on the owner like a lightning bolt. He lands and his sword flashes out at his side, spilling a thick line of blood onto the marble floor. Over his shoulder, I see the arms of this traitor Marine fall to the ground. He whines as he topples backwards and his torso leaves his legs in situ, forever just standing there. Now limbless and silent except for his glares at the Eldar and my master, he suddenly seems so pathetic. His scarred face twisted in a permanent glare, for that is all he can do now, impotently stare. Quit your lollygagging, get a move on. Get him into the bag. The most talented young man I have ever had the honour of knowing. My master takes out a large bag he has inside his own one and throws it to me. Not to, at. He had to think us weak, boy. Mawkishness is the first sign of defeat. As I unfold a bag large enough to hold my own form, I cannot help but quote again. Twice the man you'll ever be. Oh, shut up, boy. Welcome, gentle listener. I'm Baldermort, and I wish to introduce you to the forces and factions of the Warhammer 40k universe. And today, we are to explore, in brief, one of the most tragic figures in the whole of the grim darkness of the future. For today, we are to discuss one of the most lethal types of people in the galaxy. The Solitaires. Known as the apex killers of their entire race, is blessed with a skill in personal combat that easily eclipses even an Autarch or Exarch. For amongst a race built specifically for war, there are none who can compare to the ferocity and power of a Solitaire. For the basics, we shall lean on existing wisdom. To quote, Solitaires. Solitaires are incredible warriors, able to move faster than the naked eye can follow. None, even amongst the Harlequins, know the true limit of their abilities. Tales exist of Solitaires running up sheer fortress walls, spilling from the shadows inside locked bunkers, even slowing time itself. Their impossible acrobatics are such that no blade can strike them, nor bolt or blast find its mark upon their flesh. In battle, they are utterly lethal. Their scything kicks and hammer blow punches coming so fast that most foes are dead before they even realize the fight has begun. Each individual solitaire is the equal of a host of lesser warriors. The first the foe knows of a solitaire's onset is a shining blur of light and colour streaking through their ranks. Then the killing begins. Soldiers fall, eyes widening as heads are severed, throats opened, and hearts pierced. Blood falls like monsoon rain in the wake of a killer too fast to be seen. Only when the solitaire pauses for a second amidst the slaughter do the enemy get a glimpse of the executioner. A domino field swirling around a lithe form, a grotesque masked head tilted at a curious angle as the monster regards those it hunts. As the solitaire flows into motion again, the deaths of those who remain are but moments away. Solitaires are the strangest of all Harlequins. They conceal themselves amongst craft-world or comrade society, hiding their true nature as they wander from place to place. Only occasionally will these dread figures reveal the monster that lurks beneath the facade, joining a mask for a performance or battle before drifting on once more. At such times they speak and are spoken to only in ritual form, and are feared by most Eldari as an ill omen. This mane of horror stems from the fact that, alone among the Harlequins, the solitaire plays the role of Slanesh. As a result, the solitaire's role commands ultimate fear and respect. It also makes them the most dangerous of all Harlequins, for a solitaire treads the path of damnation, their essence doomed to be devoured by she who thirsts. Knowledge of their soul's forfeiture means the solitaire will ensure the cost of their foes is dear indeed before they make their end. Despite the dark fate that awaits them, it is said that solitaires are touched by the Laughing God, that they have his insight into the fall and even the nature of the universe. It is believed that the solitaires know what will occur during the Rana Dandra, who will prevail, and what will remain of a galaxy saved or damned. Many Eldari believe that to speak to a solitaire is to invite a grisly demise, and that should an individual accidentally address or touch one of these lonely beings, they will be better to take their own lives there and then. End quote. The tragic tale of every solitaire is different. How they were tempted or teased into making a fatal pact with she who thirsts, no less, yet remain independent and driven enough to continue their battle in the name of the Laughing God Sigora. Their skills in combat are but part of their role, their doom, for they perform a very specific role in the ballets of the Harlequins, and there is one scene that cannot be performed unless it is with one of these rare and cursed Eldar present, the most poignant and important dance that the troops enact, the legend of the fall. To quote, "A hush descended as the performance began. The first work was performed by a single troop. It was one of the many stories about the great Harlequin, the Harlequins' Own Master. The Warlock stood to one side, his Dethedi suit cycling through the shifting reds, greens and golds of the storyteller, as he wove a commentary with the projectors of light, sound, psychic impulse and programmed hallucinogen from the Kredan unit on his back. The avatar danced the part of the Laughing God, with his suit projecting the ever-changing lozenge pattern of the great Harlequin. Death entered, his suit cycling through the decomposition of a body from flesh to bone to dust to nothingness and back again. Troopers danced around him, falling at his touch. The Laughing God danced around the outside. Suddenly, the performance stopped. The high avatar of the Dance Without End walked to the front of the stage and looked out into the audience. Then he bowed, a bow of courtesy, to a superior. The audience sat in stunned silence. Then one figure rose. Those who recognized him knew him only as an undistinguished Infinity Matrix technician. He had lived on Samhan for over a century, humbly tending the circuitry that maintained the countless ancestors as the spirits in the body of the great ship. Now the high avatar of a Harlequin mask had bowed to him. He nodded, curtly, as to a subordinate, and walked towards the stage. Samhan is fortunate. The High Avatar's voice seemed uncomfortably loud after the silence. We shall perform the dance. The message flashed around the craftwork at the speed of thought. All normal functions were suspended, and every Eldar on Samhan came to the Talaktlu Hall. Even the ancestors in the Infinity Circuit watched through the craftworld's internal sensors. At least once in their lives, every Eldar should witness the dance. The greatest of the Harlequins' work, retelling the story of the fall of the old race, and keep the lessons of the fall alive in the spirits of the survivors. But the dance is rarely performed, since the key part cannot be danced by any member of a mask. Only the mystic Solitaires, those touched by the Laughing God himself, who pass unrecognized as whim or design moves them. Only those may dance the part of Slaanesh. The 9 warriors bounded into the center of the stage, their Deathsteady suits projecting a weaving pattern of colors as they danced the part of the old race. The 4 warlocks took up positions around the outside. Emotions were monitored, amplified and returned by their equipment as the Eldar lived the fall of their ancestors, felt their joys, their prides, their petty rivalries, and their driving passions. 3 avatars danced the parts of the fallen gods, leaping, cartwheeling, somersaulting around amongst the dancers of the old race. The dancers of the old race became wilder, their passions stronger and their joys more extreme, more menacing. They came together like a whirlpool and broke upon something unseen, hurled back as the Solitaire leaped into view, somersaulting from his unseen entrance to the center of the dancers. An involuntary shock ran through the audience at the sight of the allegorical figure of the Chaos God Slaanesh, his suit projecting a constantly writhing mass of figures in attitudes of decadent pleasure. From behind Slaanesh, 7 figures appeared one by one to mingle with the old race. First came the 4 mimes, passing their sensual and disturbing movements to the other dancers as the demons they represented had spread the corruption of Slaanesh. One by one, the dancers of the old race began to project a pattern of writhing figures on their suits. Next came 3 dark figures. Death Jester's suits displayed skeletons as they leapt and slew, dragging the inert forms of the fallen gods to the feet of Slaanesh. As the last fell, a psychic scream from the warlocks echoed through the minds of the audience. It shifted and writhed, like the patterns on the dancers' suits, gradually coalescing into a chilling, gibbering laugh of madness, corruption and depravity. But in the laugh was another voice, a clearer laugh, an ironic laugh, a laugh which laughs because it chooses not to weep. Then, at one side of the stage, the High Avatar entered, his suit projecting the ever-shifting multicolored lozenges of the Laughing God, as he strolled casually on stage, still laughing at the cosmic folly of the fallen. He looked at the triumphant form of Slaanesh atop the mound of writhing dancers, and he laughed. He looked at the mime demons and the death jesters as they bore down upon him, and he laughed. For a moment, he could not be seen among the press of Slaanesh's minions, but with a cry he flew above their heads, tumbling in flight to land facing them. As they turned, he leapt again. 2 figures dropped as he touched them, and 5 more clawed the empty air as he somersaulted across the stage. His laugh now was one of glee as he leapt and tumbled, evading the hunters and turning them now and then to strike back. He picked up the body of a death jester and hurled it at the figure of Slaanesh, who reeled slightly at the impact. With a wild cry, the great Harlequin leapt forward, pulling a single dancer from the feet of Slaanesh, and withdrew. At his touch, the writhing figures on the dancer's suit dissolved into the lozenge pattern, and the dancer also began to laugh as he danced the dance of the Harlequin. The 2 of them put the remaining demons to flight, and as last fell, Slaanesh joined the battle. The confrontation between Slaanesh and the great Harlequin seemed to go on forever. Other dancers melted from the stage as the 2 figures leapt and cartwheeled and somersaulted around each other. Slowly in the background, the mime demons and the Harlequin troopers took up the dance, reflecting the movements of the 2 principals in perfect unison. The dance ended abruptly, with the struggle unresolved. It was indeed the dance without end. The hall was quiet. The dancers left the stage. The audience sat stunned. End quote. The Solitaire treads a dreadful path. They know full well that they are to go to Slaanesh upon their ending. So each will make it a thing worthy of song, a matter of consequence. To me, the Solitaire was merely an analogy for the Eldar race entire. They know they are doomed, but they fight anyway, for to do otherwise is beneath them. But now, things have changed for the Eldar, for they have, in the Yennari and the increased activity of the Harlequins, something that they have not had since Slaanesh gave her first birthing scream that ended their civilization and doomed their race. Now they have hope. I have been Baldermort, your faithful servant. If you have enjoyed this introduction to the Solitaire, then please do consider liking and subscribing. If you do so, then please do also remember to hit the notifications button. I would not want you to miss out. If you are a regular gentle listener, then do please consider supporting us on Patreon. Now, no matter what you do today, do try to make some time for fun. Toodaloo.